Little Legends Podcast is a Prediction Esports production. Support us by subscribing to the Prediction Esports Podcast channel on your favorite podcast provider. Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Blevins. Joining me today, as always, is Boop. What's up, buddy?
I'm excited to come to the Little Legends Podcast. You know it.
Oh man, we were talking in the pre-show about how Boop and I have been at Blizzcon for the past. I mean, it's been almost a week for me since I've been back in my house. So it's good to be back, and it's good to be back in the TFT world because we've got a lot of great stuff to talk about. Man, I've just been inundated with Blizzard games. It's like it's a nice, I love my Blizzard games, but I miss TFT.
It's like the difference between like white water rafting and going on like a smooth paddleboarding ride, right? I feel like BlizzCon's like class 5 rapids, right?
Yes.
You go. Now that we're here, I feel like we're back to a wonderful paddle. Oh, look, a bird.
Yes.
Oh, look, a fish. Oh, that's a shark, but I don't care because
look,
I love
elemental
TFT.
hex. Yes, we
Yeah. Oh, it's Syndra. Oh, oh, Vlad's under here. That's great. Oh, Nami. Oh, hi, girl. How's it going?
Yes, we get to tone it down a little bit. We get to take it nice and slow. Although we're not going to be taking this slow because we've got a lot to talk about today. Of course, guys, make sure that you are following us on the Prediction iTunes feed, PRWDCDITCDICTI. Oh God, you know how to spell it. 2 E's. I can't spell right now. I've had it before, but I don't now. But make sure you guys are subscribed to us there. Leave us review there. Leave us review wherever you are. No new reviews this week, but we did get a couple last week, and that's great. And all of the iTunes reviews are very, very helpful to us. Of course, in promoting and getting the show off the ground. And speaking of getting the show off the ground and supporting the show, we do have a brand new $10 patron, and that is Undead the Gamer, our good friend from the other side of the world, I believe, in Australia. Undead, thank you so much for the patronage. Of course, you guys can go over to patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast and support us there. And Undead, make sure you hit me up on Discord so we can get your message on the next episode. Okay, I think that's all the intro stuff. I got it nice and quick.
Yeah, that's I think the best we've ever done.
I know, because I wasn't thinking about it. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. We're just gonna go right into it. So. I don't know how much TFT you've played in the last week, Boop, but any exciting stories or anything with TFT this week?
So my husband is determined to finish higher than me, and I wanted to do like a thing where I think he's going to end up doing it. I think he's going to end up finishing Plat 2. I think I'm going to end up finishing Plat 4, Plat 3, and it really hurts because I'm not being dramatic here because he literally only plays Yordles. I know this is a thing I've talked about before, but now he's like, Chris, am I just like better than you or something? And since Yordles are in the next set, I will never be able to be like, well, you might have gotten this season, but I got this next one, because then he'll be like, well, Yordles aren't in this season, and blah, blah, blah. He'll always have an excuse.
That. Which means you better start grinding, man.
I know. I gotta get up there by the end of today. I've got a little bit of stuff to do, but I plan on staying up as late as possible to try to grind up there. I'm sick. I got the con crud. I don't care. I cannot let a Yordles only player finish higher than me, regardless of the relationship.
Right. Regardless of marital status, it does not matter.
I've said this before, during our vows, for better or for worse, right? We're definitely in a for worst situation. This is honestly some of the most tension I've ever felt being married to him. so far. So that's been my week, and he was like sending me things like during BlizzCon, like as he's playing. Like every time he won a game with the Yordles, he just send me a picture, and that hurts. It's like I'm being attacked by the
Literally.
person that I supposedly love.
You can't even hit
And
them back because there's just such a high probability that you miss.
yeah, exactly. So that's my story, and it's really unfortunate. I am really excited for set two, though. I'm stoked.
Yeah, I in the last week, like I left a week from, I guess tomorrow morning would be a whole week since I've been back, and I did not play any TFT at all while I was gone. However, I did watch a bunch of TFT, watched a bunch of streams, and watched the tournament, which we'll be talking about in a bit. But one thing I wanted to bring up a little bit, because we were at BlizzCon, and I guess this is like kind of related to TFT, and I think it's related to the community because it's not like people aren't going to be playing the new game. We got the reveal of Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is kind of the Hearthstone shot at an auto battler, kind of. It's I'd say loosely an auto battler. In my mind, I mean, you actually asked me this right before we started the show because I was playing it. It just came out, at least in the beta. And he said, do you like that game? And I go, yeah, it's pretty fun, but I don't put it at the same. It's not at the same level of game as TFT by any shot. And I'm not just saying that because I have a TFT podcast. I'd have no problem saying that one game is better than the other, or that it's a personal preference. I don't think it's just a personal preference. I think the way that it feels to me is that Hearthstone Battlegrounds is the Hearthstonification of the auto battler. Like Hearthstone was the Hearthstonification of Magic the Gathering. It's the take some of the essence, boil it way down, make it like fun enough, and there you go.
Hey, Blev, I hope in my life I've never described as fun enough.
Fun enough, right?
You
Exactly.
know,
Or the
that's just
Hearthstonification of a person.
that's just like being called maybe. Like, do
Yeah.
you like him? Yeah, he's fun enough. I mean, if I have 20 minutes and no other options, I'll talk to him. He's fun enough. You know,
Yeah.
like, but that's always been Hearthstone's thing, right?
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
like when you're sitting on the toilet, you've got nothing better to do, and you just need to take some time to yourself. Go ahead and play it because it's like it's not pay to win, right? So
Technically not. We don't need to go into the details of it because it's boring. Those details of it are boring. But you can
it's
get
fun enough.
you can get bonuses by like buying new packs, and they like slightly game modifying, so it's a little bit weird. But for the most part, no, it's not pay to win. It's like TFT or Dota Underlords Lite.
Yeah,
It like
it's like the equivalent of like what they're doing with Tavern Brawls anyway, right?
right.
Like this is just a little bit of an expansion. It's like the in between of a Tavern Brawl and a solo adventure, and it's just
I
like one
think
of
it's
those
more.
things.
Honestly think it's more than that because like the solo adventures get dropped like entirely, and tavern brawls are cycling. I think this is
Yeah,
more of like this is going to be a permanent mode, and maybe they even expand upon it later. Like I think it's more than that, but it's not more than like a full fledged game.
yeah, they're definitely a little late to the party. I wonder like how long they've been working on something like this. I mean, I was watching some
They.
people stream it. I've played one game, and it was at BlizzCon,
Mhm.
and it just like it was all right.
Yeah. I
It
believe 6 months is how long they've been working on it, based
all
on
right.
one of the panels at BlizzCon.
You know what it was? It's kind of like when you're on a diet and you go to a restaurant. You really like this like meal, but you have to get a salad because you have to keep counting calories.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like the salad of the auto battle
Yeah. It
genre.
kind of is. I think
Yeah, it'd
this.
be good. to start someone there and then be like, now you want to know what a real one is like, and then give
Yeah.
and then here's some dessert, and then give them like TFT or
Hmm.
even Dota Underlords, because it might be a good gateway battler.
Hmm.
But other than that, I wasn't like incredibly impressed. But that's kind of like what Hearthstone is. Like I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone, like particularly the solo adventures on Heroic
Hmm.
and stuff. And like it's really just to waste time when I don't have a computer
Right.
nearby. Like I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you if I was having fun or not.
It's just occupying mental energy is what it's doing.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's fun. And I imagine like if I'm just like sitting, if I'm watching like TV or something in the living room and I want to do something, like I'm gonna be more likely to play Hearthstone Battlegrounds than I am TFT because I'm gonna actually care about what's happening in TFT. Like if I'm playing TFT on my phone or something eventually, I feel like I'm gonna be more invested in that than I am in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. But okay, enough about that. If you guys like it and want to play it, maybe I'll make a text channel in the Discord because I know people like to hang out in the Discord regardless of the game. So maybe I'll throw it in there. People can talk about it and all that good stuff. But with the lightness on our actually playing, let's get into the stuff that is actually coming up and happening. And we'll also talk about the Red Bull Invitational. But a few pieces here for those of you who have been lying in wait. Heroes Hearth Fight Night is back. It's going to be this
Hey.
Thursday. It's going to be right after the new patch. This is, I think, going to be the first tournament besides. Well, this will be the first tournament played on live. Although, I mean, the Invitational was technically beta, so this will be the first tournament played on live on Thursday night. Twitch.tv/Heroes Hearth. Make sure you check it out. Got all the returning champions from last time. Got a new cast and crew as well. And you're definitely going to want to check that one out. They're always fun. And guys, if you are looking to play, if you're diamond and above, you can always sign up for the Heroes Hearth Fight Night. I've got the link in the resources tab in the Discord, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Now, Boop, do you want to talk a little bit about this next one because it specifically involves us?
Well, if you guys have been itching, and I know all of you guys have, right?
I know I have. That's
Right,
because I got a little too. I
I
was
already
around too
told you
many
to go to the
people.
doctor, Blev.
I was
Okay.
around too many
Um,
people at BlizzCon.
oh man. Oh. Anyway, just a small tangent. Do you remember that Mad TV skit where it was Stuart and his mom, and she kept making that sound? Oh, Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the greatest Mad TV sketches out there. We're doing something called the Cruise Arena Invitational. So it's going to be this Friday night, and Blev and I will be casting together along with Paul and Necra. Should be a good show.
Yeah.
We've got the Professor. Mr. Professor TFT and
Yeah.
Teebs are probably two of the more well-known people taking place. There is a $400 prize pool, I believe, but this is all good. Like any type of tournament in this
Yeah.
situation, great, especially since we have that Red Bull Invitational kind of like leading the way, so
Mm-hmm.
these players can try mimicking or making some new strategies going up here, and winning these things will only put you on the map. So it's really important that if one of your streamers, regardless of how many viewers they have, is taking part, to go ahead and watch and make this thing happen. And the other really cool thing is I'm forgetting the product, but the way that we're streaming this is a way for everyone to put all of their streams into one specific
Yes.
program, and so we as the casters and the producer will be able to freely move in between a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
things without having each player stream. So it'll be a more direct way of watching a TFT tournament as
Yep.
well. Like if you want to watch someone other than your favorite streamer, you don't have to get 8 different windows open. You can just watch the
Mm-hmm.
stream, and we'll kind of direct the show that way. And I'm really excited to kind of see exactly how that goes, because a really cool thing about a burgeoning esport is there is no right way to cast it and produce it just yet, right?
Mm.
A little while ago, Blev, there was someone who was like, I don't watch TFT for casting. I don't need it. I'm just there for the personality of
Yeah,
the
I remember
streamer,
seeing that. Yep.
right? And That's a great opinion and really good feedback. And what's really cool is there is no right way. We're still discovering what that is, and to
Hmm.
be a part of that process is super fun. So regardless if it's like Omega Esports League or the Red Bull Invitational or this cruising for a bruising arena invitational on Friday night, we all get to experiment as to what's great because I still think a TriCast is the best way to cast this, but
Hmm.
we're still going to kind of figure it out and we get to think outside the box, we get the creativity, and it's going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I definitely like a mix because it depends on what I'm watching. So sometimes Twitch Rivals, I like to just watch the main Twitch Rivals cast where you've got your traditional casters, they're moving around, etc. But if you look at it, a lot of times the main broadcast is not the most viewed one because I think people like to watch their individual favorite streamers or they just want to get an opinion. Sometimes they're a little, I mean, depending on the event, they're a little more wacky or they're not quite as air quotes professional about the commentary that they're giving, maybe a little obviously a little more biased considering that it's them playing, but I like to mix it up sometimes. If either the player that I want to watch is not streaming at the time or they're in TFT, they might be in a different group. Like I usually like to watch the main cast and then also sometimes just jump into the regular stream as well. So definitely having that ability is really great, and I think the format for streaming something like for really any esport is still wide open because it's just been sort of ported directly over from traditional sports, and we just have so many other opportunities that haven't even really been explored that much just because we haven't looked into them yet.
Well, what's really unique about TFT is the fact that it's like a streamer driven personality type of experience, right?
Hmm.
And to put casters over that is just like almost feels like an addition to. So
Right.
I would like to see it go more towards like the Overwatch League where you have like the viewer where you could look at Carpe's point of view like
Right.
when you want to.
Hmm.
Or you can get, both streamer and casters going at the same time. Again, like there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but if you don't really know any of the streamers and you just want to hear what's going on, then the casters are definitely the right way to go. And we'll see how it is. I'm gonna try some new things. I think this weekend just to see how it works, and I'm sure we all will. But it's gonna be a good time
Hmm.
regardless. Competitive TFT is exactly where we need to be, and it'll be our first go of it. Casting set 2, which will be super fun.
Yes, I've luckily been keeping up with set 2, and a lot of that information has come from the Red Bull Invitational, which we'll talk about right after this break. Guys, if you are liking the show, please make sure you leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us there. And you can subscribe to us and check us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/the Blevins. Of course, the home of all of our content is at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break there. We're going to be talking about the Red Bull Rise of the Elements Invitational for TFT. And this was, man, I kind of have mixed feelings about this one, Boop. I don't know how you felt about this event. I mean, obviously, I was actually at Blizzcon or I was in California the entire time that this was happening. So I'm watching it. I was watching it sporadically on my phone in the hotel and around. Um, but I gotta say, I don't know if I was the biggest fan of how day one was played. Did you did
Why?
you catch any
Why?
of day
Why?
one?
Why?
Because it was this weird, wacky, like it was this wacky format where they were like betting and there's like secret rules and you can get extra points, and it was very sort of casual in terms of like the players are like talking to each other and like there's all sorts of like collusion and stuff. It just like I get like thinking about it more, I get it, and they like wanted it to be more of a unique experience. They wanted to be laid back and kind of have that feel of it, but coming from like the very rigid, segmented, like professional REL rules enforcement level of Magic the Gathering events, it just like felt like they weren't taking it seriously, even though there was a lot of money at stake. And like It's one thing to have like a wacky event. I mean, I guess like being an invitational is almost like an all-star game. I think if they would have called it an all-star game, I probably wouldn't have cared as much.
Hmm.
It just because like it's like they're playing for a lot of money, although they're all getting a bunch of money. So I guess it's kind of like levels it out. They're not actually like the differential of money is actually not that big compared to how much they're already going to be getting. But it's still like I don't know. I feel like to me it just didn't seem like it was being taken seriously. What did you think, Boop?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what you want, right? I think we all come from a space where we're used to something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what here it is my let's get philosophical.
Philosophical.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite food, philosophals. Um, wow, a falafel pun. I feel pretty good about that. Anyway,
No comment. No
philosophical.
comment.
I know, sorry. And I get it. Like, I get where you're coming from, and I kind of like don't really have an opinion on it because they tried something new,
Mm-hmm.
and some people might like it, some people might not. But this game inherently, I think, is a more casual game right now
Yeah.
because it is so streamer driven. And who's to say that this kind of thing isn't what esports or competitiveness is, right? Because like just because we're used to something else doesn't mean the other thing is wrong. And the way that
Yeah.
they're doing here is what's more important, entertainment value, or is it going to be what is the goal here? And I think that was kind of the hard part for me was they try to make it feel like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Whereas if they were a little bit more pointed on this is casual or or
Mm-hmm.
we're going to try to take this seriously, then I think more people would have understood what the goal of this event was because it's still all experimental, right? I
Yeah.
say this about we said this about casting TFT a little earlier. It's like no one's decided how to do it,
Right.
right? And I think this kind of falls into the same thing. I totally get it though. I hate it when I see people competing for money and stuff like that. And it just like doesn't seem like they're appreciating it and doesn't seem like a really big deal to them because they already have money and viewers, right? And I think it reinforces a really bad stereotype of the industry, and that's like one of the bigger reasons why I dislike something like that. But I if it happens again, I might get a little bit more frustrated. But on the first day, like particularly, um, I think it was okay.
It was less of that sentiment to me because like they're professionals. Like I don't actually care how much money they're getting paid, and it's not even the fact that they're taking it for granted. Like that's not kind of where I was coming from. It's more like so for me it seemed, and maybe this just is his personality, but it seemed like Keen, who spoiler alert ended up winning the event, was in a different sort of headspace than a lot of the other players. And if I'm so, if you're in a position where you're playing for money, in my mind, as someone who has played many an event for money, like I'm taking that very seriously, and I'm going to, what people would call try hard for, in an event like that. I'm going to try to gain every advantage that I can. I'm going to try to, play my best, et cetera, et cetera. And that mentality does not necessarily mix with the, oh, well, let's have fun and let's do these like wacky things and like let's talk to the let's talk to the broadcast crew and have them come over and like have them ask me about my strategy while I'm in the game. It's like I can imagine if I'm in that position and like not me now, I wouldn't care because like I'd obviously just be happy to be in an event like that. But like if I'm thinking like if they did this for like a Magic Grand Prix or something, I would tell the casters to like please don't come over and talk to me while I'm playing. And like
Hmm.
if the other players were like, "Oh, well you should sell your units to try to get someone so to win." I'd be like, "Absolutely not." And like it's almost like those like philosophies I guess are like competing and butting against each other in my mind.
Yeah, I
And
see. I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying.
yeah, and I think it could make it possibly, I don't think anyone felt this way. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but it could make someone like uncomfortable. And I guess like it's I guess it's more like a branding thing, because like if they just like if the players all just got their fees or whatever and it wasn't public, like obviously, when they put on an invitational like this, a lot of times it's my assumption that these players are getting paid to show up. Like Disguised Toast isn't just going to a thing just to play it. None of those players are, because it's costing them money essentially. So they're going to get compensated for that. If they took the whole monetary part out of it and they're just playing for like that jacket, right? Like the winner's jacket, or like a big trophy, or like maybe they get to design a little legend or something, like put a little Keen little legend in, or a spray or something. Like if they're just playing for stuff like that, yes, you can take it seriously, but I am also like, it's not like, you can take it very seriously, or you can kind of play it off like, I don't really care. I'm getting paid to have fun. We are, our purpose there is to provide content, whether that's solid gameplay. Maybe that does cover it all. But when it almost like, maybe I'm just getting held up on this because of my past like tournament playing. The fact that they're playing for like a prize just really kind of made it like, when you're playing for money, in my mind, it's like, okay, it's always serious, right? And if you're playing for something else, whether it's, if it's like a unique gift or something, you can still take that seriously, but like you can almost kind of not. I don't know. Maybe no one else feels this way, but that's just kind of how
I
it
think
felt to me.
I think some people do, and I think a lot of it had to do with like who was there, because the people who were participating in this tournament aren't necessarily competitive TFT
Right.
players,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like the difference between Toast and Hafu in terms of, and Keen, right, are
Right.
very different in terms of how they're going to approach something like this. Someone
Sure.
like Keen will probably go to every single event with the same exact mindset,
Right.
wanting to win,
And
right?
like
And
Jay
that's what's
Shrita
going to,
as well.
yeah, which is going to make him one of the best players in the world, which he is. I mean, he won 3 times in a row twice,
Right.
right? Like that's nuts. Um, but some other people there aren't there for that,
Right.
right? And I think because there is such a mixture, like the identity of what this event was a little hit or miss for some
Mm-hmm.
people, right? But like everyone got a little bit of something, right? If you were
Yeah,
serious about it,
absolutely.
then you can watch Keen. If you were looking for the personality, you could watch Toast Rebecca, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what they were going for. But just like we've said before about balance, right? It's all about, hey, if you give a little bit of something to everyone, it's either going to be on the weaker side or it's
Right.
going to be really overpowered. And I think on this kind of situation, it was just like a little too polarizing, right? It was like, yeah, it almost felt like uncool to try at
Yes,
times,
it did kind of feel a little bit like that, which
right? That like if you
that
were
rubs
try
me the wrong
harding,
way, like as a player.
yeah, if you were try harding, then you just like weren't having fun with it,
Right.
right?
It's like, oh well, we're
Whereas,
here. Well, obviously we don't want it to be done in 3 hit. We're putting on a show, and it's like, okay, well, and like they're wearing costumes and
yeah,
stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's great. But like in my mind, and again, the people are, like, they did a great job producing it. The casters were great. Um the sort of the whole casting crew, I think, was really great, and the production was great. I just think, like, if you're gonna do that, like, just go all in on it, right? Like, I don't know, have like a pie eating contest in the middle
like
of it or
do it like
something.
they cast. I mean, a while ago they did an Earth
Hmm.
cast where they all like put on British accents and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
was great, right? But like, and then I forget, like there's a Cats versus Dog cast where they just like voiced over cat and dog puppets, and like in like the player chairs were cats and dogs
Yeah.
and stuff, and that was really cool too, right? Like because they went all in. But when
Right.
I think if you like don't, I've always come under like the impression that you kind of have to lean in. Like I would rather like lean into something, right,
Right.
than do it half-assed first, because if I lean into it, then I know what's wrong about it,
Right.
right? But with something like this, it was a little hard because like the whole atmosphere of if I try hard, I'm uncool is just like so like high school popularity contest, right?
Right.
Like
And just
I'm the cool
anti-competitive.
kid. Yeah, I'm the cool kid because I put my feet up on the table, right?
Hmm.
You guys do homework, so you're nerds, and that's kind of like what it can feel like, right?
Hmm.
And so I definitely feel you, man. I would have done some things differently. for sure. But we'll see if they move into the whole like it's just been so streamer heavy for so long,
Right.
right? And these streamers aren't streamers that are here because they started in TFT and are
Hmm.
very high level skilled, right? A la like the Jay Shritas,
Hmm.
right? Most of them have come from different games. Most of them came from Hearthstone or League of Legends and stuff like that. So they
Hmm.
have established personalities and established ways of doing things, and that's what was on show for some of that first day. And they have to kind of decide which is better, right? Do we keep
Right.
making this a casual thing, right? Is it going to be casted closer to Earth or closer to, you know, like tier two, right? Is this like a
Right.
tier two thing, or are we gonna make this like Magic or competitive Hearthstone
Right.
and take it as seriously as possible because we already have that with League of Legends. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
It, I definitely am glad that they tried it, and I'm interested to see what they got as their feedback for the event, because like I think overall it was a good event and I had fun watching it. I'm just like I
I
wouldn't
think the
want.
best player won.
I also think that I I think if you brand this as like an all-star game, or maybe just I'm getting hung up on the wording. Maybe if I look at the invitational as an all-star game type of thing, then I'm completely fine with this event. Uh, what I don't want, I mean, I personally want there to be a strictly competitive side of TFT where you're just trying to win, you're just playing, you're getting your traditional orgs and whatnot involved, and I don't want those types of events to be like this event. Like I
Mm-hmm,
don't want
mm-hmm.
the like weird wacky side rules. I mean, I do
Yeah,
want
yeah.
custom
It's like
TFT shoes, but you know,
it's like even if it was an all-star event, right? Like it still felt like closer to like the home run derby than the actual all-star
right.
game. You know what I mean? Like it was just a
And
little too different.
right. And then on the other hand, like, do people really care about an All Star? I don't know. I think that they did a good job with it overall, and I hope that there's some things that they can learn upon, and I hope that they embrace the things that went well for them. Um, enough about the actual formatting, though. Although one last thing I will say about the formatting is that I do think that the day two, because I think it was originally first to four wins, and then they probably realized that that would be. Horrifically long potentially. But, it was first to three wins, first places. I thought that format was really cool. Um, we got kind of the middle. I think it was what, 8 games or 9 games maybe
Hmm. Well,
total. I don't remember.
that's the other exciting thing, right? Like format's still getting decided, and while they did it for Red Bull, like we can do it for something like the Cruise Invitational this Friday at a specified time. That will, I'm sure we're going to tweet out at some point.
Yeah, that
Um,
check at LIL Legends Pod on Twitter. We will tweet out all of the information as we get it and as it is officially announced. I think this actually is the first time. This is technically the official announcement.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we
And
got
so
the
like it,
okay.
yeah, and so it doesn't matter where it comes from, and we all get to kind of do it the way we want to. There is no right way, and they did it that way, and we
Hmm.
can learn from that and adjust it accordingly based on like how we want to present TFT.
Right.
And as we grow and as the community grows, all of that stuff will hopefully get figured out. I mean, they're literally Overwatch League's in its third season, and they're changing how the maps work,
Right.
right? So like it's still even through an official season, there's still room to change. And so
Hmm.
if anyone out there thinks, oh, this is how you do it, this is how you do esports, oh, this is how you cast something like this, that's all BS.
Oh
Right? We
yeah.
all get to do whatever the hell we want right now
Yep.
until something comes out and we're like, you know what? This is good. I like this. We're gonna and even then it's like we're gonna base everything off of that and still kind of figure out how
Hmm.
we want to do this. Because in my opinion, like if we take a personal approach to it, I'd love to be a little more casual in our casting on this
Yeah.
particular tournament because I took it super seriously last time, and I want to lean into what the other side of it is,
Right.
right? And just like see how that feels and see how that goes. We might not like it, and we might not ever do it again, but
Hmm.
that's why I always like leaning in first and then adjusting.
Yeah. Push how far you can. Push yourself to see how far you can go, and then take it back if need be.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, I think that format, it's a really cool and exciting format. The only thing that limits it is like like actually tournament logistics, because if you don't have, the possible like 4 or 5 hours to play out the finals, you can't really do that. And also, it could end really early too. So
And that's fine. But I mean, last year I remember at BlizzCon, Overwatch League ended like super early, and then this year it went past the concerts,
mhm.
and so, which sucked because Glitch Mob was performing, and they're like one of my favorite bands, and they were there, and we went over there, and like the whole area was empty, and then Mushi was finally like, I think they might be done, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry.
That sucks.
Anyway, but yeah, so that's the feedback for me. It was
Yeah.
cool to see how diverse the player base was, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is like one of the more diverse, I think, games out there right now in terms of competitiveness, which is really, really cool. And I just kind of want to see that continue, which is awesome.
Yeah, I want to get, because this, I think it was either on Mort's stream or somewhere. I think that this was kind of their first foray into that, what was it, a month ago or for however long, where they kind of put out that article that's like, we're going to be doing competitive in esports in 2020. And I think this is kind of their first foray into that, maybe like the beta version of what they might, part of what they're going to be doing for esports. So I'm interested to see when the next invitational is. Another thing about that, all of the players got these custom shoes,
I
and those things
know.
are sick. Like,
I
absolutely some of the
know. I
coolest
mean,
things
like,
I've ever seen made for an event.
I think if there was like, hey, if you play TFT for 10 games, you might get a chance to win these shoes. It increased the player base by like 100%. Those shoes are sick.
They
Like,
were
because they could have
absolutely
been like
insane.
super lame. I've like seen stuff like that. Like I've seen some like Harry Potter shoes that like aren't that cool,
Right.
right? But these were sick.
And
I'm so
all
jealous. It
custom.
makes Yeah. Hopefully one day we can cast one of these events and get the shoes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, right? The dream
It's
is
not the
to
passion of casting the game, it's for the
it's
shoes.
just for a free pair of shoes. Um, yeah, absolutely was great, and the jacket was sweet, and just overall event gets 2 thumbs up from me. Just some things that I think we can learn from and improve upon.
I'd
But
give
that's
it
all.
1.5 thumbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. 2 thumb. I guess. Yeah. No. One and a half is probably
Like I'm
more.
happy they did it. I had fun. Like some of the shenanigans were pretty funny,
For some reason, I was
right?
thinking
Like
2 out of 3 thumbs, but there's not 3 thumbs. I don't know why I was
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might have 3 thumbs. Most of us don't. But like some of the shenanigans were funny, and like again, if they like went super into that, I think I'd have like a really good time. Kind of like what Brennan Sideshow do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? For Overwatch, and
Hmm.
like I'm totally down with that, and I love it when they do it because again, it's kind of an all or nothing thing.
Right.
But I'd rather it go more towards like the stuffy competitive side, at
Yeah.
least to try for the next time with like casters and like an actual like people at sitting at a desk and casting over it,
Hmm.
talking like with color and strategy
Yep.
discussion and stuff like that. Having that be more of the focus rather than the people who are playing, making the
Right.
game the focus, I think would be a cool direction to try next time.
Yep. For sure. A couple of things that we got in terms of like meta and comps and whatnot. I think the real standout, at least for me watching it, was light. A lot of people doing some hyper roll light, uh, some really, mixing it up. 6 light, starting 3 light, transitioning off, going full in light, hyper rolling light. I think it was, at least at the beginning, just one of the comps that really was sort of the basis of the meta and what people were trying to counter, trying to go for, etc. What did you get out of that, Boop?
I was looking more towards items.
Okay.
I just sent you a really cool thing, which is all of the winning comps and their positionings and stuff like that from the weekend. And the thing that I want to move away from, right? Item stacking is super cool, but when Keen wins with a 3 Zeeks Azir,
Okay.
2 times in a row, like that should not happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like stacking 3 Zeeks is probably pretty rare, but we've already been through that, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with Locket, remember when Locket and Zeeks were just like super strong
Yep.
uh, a while ago? The other thing is how easy it was for some of these guys to get and girls to get 2-star Luxes,
Yes.
which like at 7
Nico's
cost,
help is a thing.
I know, but still, even at
Yeah.
7 cost, right? Like almost every winning comp had a 2-star Lux of some sort.
Well, it's not any less common than a 5 cost. It has the same rarity as a 5 cost.
I know, but if you're gonna make it, it's that disconnect for me.
Yeah.
Like in general, of like, oh, you're charging 7 and this one's 5, but they're the same.
Yeah.
So in terms of rarity, so
Hmm.
that's like a clarity thing for me. But
Sure.
yeah, in terms of like items, like Hurricane was pretty popular. Attack speed generally was pretty
Hmm.
popular. Um, but yeah, triple Zeeks, that's a thing.
Yeah, the triple Zeeks was interesting. I mean, I like it's really tough, and we saw this. Not to keep we keep coming back to Overwatch, but that's where we come from. Uh, Back before hero locks, where you could run multiple instances of the same hero, like if one hero is just better than the other one, you're just going to run more of that, right? Unless they're so uniquely different. If you want to run
Mhm.
Zeeks and Zeeks is giving you what you want, you just keep putting more Zeeks on. And there's not really, unless they made it like unique to the board, you couldn't even really stop Zeke stacking because you could just put them on different units. You couldn't even making it unique wouldn't matter unless you made the effect unique. But like you're getting to the point where it's just like completely breaking the item and making it terrible. So
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's interesting that we saw this attack speed be really good. We saw
yeah. Rangers
assassins be
were
good.
pretty common.
Rangers. I mean, it was Rangers. It was also like there's Rangers with Twitch and Poison. There was Rangers where you've got the hyper carry Vayne because there's so many lights and Vayne ends up being your last light and is attacking super fast. We saw some Nocturne play, which is one like I played a decent amount of PBE and like Nocturne was one I just never really tried and never really got. Like it's a type of unit where it's like, okay, it works with assassins, and it works with exactly one other unit. I guess two technically if you get Steel Lux, but works with one other unit, which is Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai works with Predator, which I'm personally kind of a fan of, but it's not super great. So I'm like, okay, automatically in my mind it's like, okay,
Yeah,
Nocturne, not something I'm really heavily focusing on because it's not one of those like transition pieces or like the pieces that lead you into it's not like a centerpiece that combines multiple synergies. It's like its own standalone thing, but it's a really strong standalone. And we saw that get used a decent amount too. Wind and Mystic also a very common sort of secondary synergies. It's just like, hey, when everyone's running attack speed and attack damage, maybe you should have wind because it basically makes your team like mini Yordles, or I guess bigger Yordles because they're easier to hit.
don't even say that word anymore. After today, they're not. They're extinct. After today, no,
They're
Viger's still
extinct.
there, but
But he doesn't have Yordle synergy.
yeah, he's like the lone survivor. Like who's that turtle? Who's like the last of his kind or something like that. There's like a turtle who's like 200 years old. He has a
Am I
name. I
not
forget what it
turtling up
is.
for the Turtle Club?
And
Shout outs to Master of Disguise.
man, I remember when I was a preschool teacher, the kids loved Franklin, but all the Franklin books were like super long, so I just started making up the books, just like not reading what was on the page and just like
Nice,
just like going with the pictures. I was
nice.
that's maybe how I got good at improv, but yeah, like light looks really good. Item diversity was like kind of there. A lot of Frozen Fist, a lot of Hurricanes. We got some Zeke stacking, but regardless, even though light seemed really good, we did get some diversity there, and I
Mm-hmm.
still like where the game is at, if that makes sense. Like Keen won with a
Yep.
couple different kinds of comps, which is really cool,
Yep.
and he wasn't like hard forcing like those dastardly Yordle players
Right.
currently on live. getting higher ranked than me by just doing one thing, hardcore thing comp, right? Like it seems like you have to be diverse, a little bit more diverse, and have to know
Yes.
how to transition a little
Yep.
bit better in this particular meta. I think the skill cap has increased just based off the fact that there are more hexes, right? And
Yes.
positioning and with all like the elemental hexes and stuff like
Yes.
that. So I think the overall skill cap has increased and I like that. And that's what I'm excited for going into tomorrow. Can you believe it?
I absolutely cannot because it feels like we've been wanting this for so long and it's now actually happening. Yeah, I think the only thing that I want to see a little bit more of is like magic damage comps. Like we
Mm-hmm.
see like I don't know how
They're
many
super scared
mages
of
we
Ocean
saw.
Mage. You can tell.
Yeah, we didn't really see a ton of like mage, and I guess like technically summoners are a magic based comp, and we see some like a three-piece summoner here and there, but it's not like, oh, I went all in on summoners and got there, or like I went
Well, yeah,
all in
it's
on
because some of
mages
the
and
summoner units are good, right?
right.
As
It's
opposed
like
to summoners are
yeah,
good.
Azir and Zed and
Annie.
Annie. Well, I feel like I see less Annie than oh man, now I'm gonna get roasted. What's the light? The light Yorick. Ah, I got there. Got there. I haven't looked at TFT in days. Ah, I see. Malachor got it for me. Yorick was who I was thinking of. Um, those are just good units. Like I see Yoriks get played like without any even the light or or summoner synergy. Just a good 4 cost unit. So I'd like to see maybe like Mage get pushed a little bit. The problem is like if Mage is good, then it's probably like super super good.
That's kind of what happened on site one, right? Like
Right.
Sorcerer had like a little bit of time in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I remember Morgana being really good at one point.
Yes.
Well, but
Multiple
she was
points
good because
actually.
she was also a demon.
Right.
More so than being a sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Asol was a good sorcerer, but I don't feel like in terms of set one, sorcerers were good late game for a while. Like they're good to
Yeah.
have early on, right? Just to like get some early burst damage when they're going
Right.
to be a little bit more effective before everyone gets like super high HP. But like they're good against knights, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
And
and then
Yordles, they're good against Yordles, but
true.
like Yordles isn't like run that frequently, and what they're good at isn't necessarily being run that often, and what they're bad against is usually what's been meta
Right.
lately. So it's not just set two that they're a little afraid of like that kind of character. I think it's been set one as well.
Yeah, because it can be like usually mages are like, or sorry, sorcerers are like super bursty, kill you instantly. It's like that's not fun or interactive. And
Yeah, no
um,
counterplay.
I do think that the fact that Mystic is so sort of integral in these comps, like you're basically like you're getting Mystic in all these comps just because like you're just running the units like your Jaina or not Jaina, Janna and Soraka or something like that. Just getting Mystic is so easy, and it's like kind of like mini Dragon's Claw again, for your whole team. So I think they preemptively were like, okay, we don't want mages to be the broken thing because they kind of do a broken thing, and you can make anyone a mage. So we're going to just kind of temper that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw mages get a little bit of a bump later on.
Yeah, I mean they did put it in the game that they can repeat their ult,
Yep.
so that's on them. And
Yep.
because you can, I think, win with mage if you have a level 3 Viger. I think that's like the only
Or
the only
Or
way.
Zed Mage.
Yeah. Like if you can get machine gun Viger going,
Yeah.
like that's just one of those like you're gonna get top 3, right?
Hmm.
But if not, then you're probably not. You might not even get top 4. And
Right.
so we need those kinds of comps in the game, right? But it's a little too slow right now for mages, and especially like with Ocean being a little underwhelming as well.
Hmm.
And since they're so like intrinsically locked together, uh, both of them suffer because of
Right.
it. Because I think Ocean has like visually one of the most exciting kind of aesthetics in the game,
Hmm.
and I was already saying that Syndra is one of my favorite characters. So I'm hoping that they get a little bit of time to shine, but I definitely see them like getting like hard nerfed after like 2 weeks of being top of the meta.
Yeah. It also seems like a lot of the good items are attack damage style items. I mean, you technically are getting like you're getting powerful from a rage blade if you're a mage, but like not in the same way. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah,
see how
yeah,
that
that's
plays
a
out.
really, really good point. Because the thing about thing about set one is I don't think there are enough tank items. So like if you go to like set two, right, that's going to happen for somebody as well. So
Hmm.
it sounds like it's mages for that right now.
Yep. The last thing I want to talk about the actual tournament was we did see the meta kind of evolve within the games between the actual sets. When people were forcing light pretty heavily, we started to see the Morello and red buff get played to reduce that healing, and I mean that's just the sort of thing that I like. I just like to see the adaptation because so many times you see, oh well, this is meta, and we got to make sure you get this meta comp. But if you don't get it, you just lose. It's like, well, there's counterplay too, right? Like, oh, didn't get lights, guess I lose. It's like, no, these top level players were building Morellos. They're building red buffs. They're building multiple Runins and a red buff to try to hit as many people or as many units as you can to try to stop the stem the bleed or the healing rather of these comps and seeing that and then it actually kind of switched around because when people are like over indexing for the healing reduction, all of a sudden players are going into shadow, which doesn't get affected by that, and now they're using their items on maybe or they're using their item components on suboptimal item builds, and that sort of back and forth was extremely exciting for me as someone who's analyzing the game and seeing the sort of microcosm that was created from this tournament.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's that like reactive reactive type of situation, right? Because this also happened with I think like if we're going back to Hearthstone, right? The way that they
Mm-hmm.
really wanted it, now you can ban a deck, and they want you to
Right.
like think about what deck they might choose and try to counter it, and this and this, but you're locked into those decks, right? In something like this, you get to like in real time adjust based off of what meta your lobby is playing, not just like what meta the meta is. It's what your lobby is doing, right? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
microcosm of everything else because you're going to get countered at some point, and then we all have herd mentality as people, and so people are like, okay, this is winning, so let's do this, and then somebody will go, oh, but wait, everyone, no one's doing this, and you see like a Singed with Morellos on, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, like the Singed with Morellos is getting really popular, and then everyone has to adjust again, and by the end of the tournament, you're back to light. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And
And it just comes
you know,
full circle.
yeah, it's constantly evolving, and that's one of the coolest things about a game like this, especially since it can happen during a singular game,
Right.
not just like over a series, like over a singular game, just by what cards pop up, right? If we're talking set one, for some reason, there are a lot of Blade Slinger, Blade Slinger comps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blade Master Gunslinger,
Yep.
and no one's going nobles, right? And
Right.
so maybe this lobby you're not seeing Imperials, right? Maybe this lobby you're not seeing Rangers, and you have to do totally something else because this lobby has countered your main, and that's one of the coolest things. It's to be able to be reactive and proactive in a singular gaming experience is really great.
Yep. I mean, we've talked to the winners of the Heroes Earth Fight Nights, and almost all of them say, "Hey, you got to play the lobby, not just the game." And that's
Yep.
definitely was shown here as well. Okay, let's move on here to the final part of the show. That, of course, is the Teamfight Tactics patch 9.22 notes. We're getting set to Rise of the Elements is here, and we are ready to talk about it. So let's just jump right into the notes. Starting off from Riot Beer Nana. Greetings, tacticians. The elements are here and they are rising. The all new elemental hex system, new champions, origins, classes, and abilities are shaking up the convergence. The new set also brings a ranked season teamfight tactics. So study up, get ready to climb on patch 9.23. Note there, we're not getting ranked for an entire patch, so 2 weeks. I've got my opinions on that. Last but certainly not least, we've decreased the number of each champion in the pool, making forced team compositions more difficult and opening more paths to victory. So let's get into it. So we're gonna skip over a lot of this because we've already talked about it. because it's a lot of this hasn't changed since the PBE, which we've already gone through. So we'll skip over the stuff that we've definitely talked about and just continue on with the brand new stuff. So there's a couple of links in here, and I'll post the link to these patch notes if you haven't seen them already. There's a couple of links in here. One links to Mort's what we learned in set one article. The other is just talking about the elemental hexes, champions, origins, and classes, which we went through a few shows ago. But Boop, do you want to go through some of these general game changes?
Yes, I shall, Mr. Blevins. We made a few systemic changes. Systemic,
Ooh.
guys. It's part of the system now.
We're in the system.
We have the technology. In preparation for Rise of the Element, the board size will change. The board size change will allow for additional options and decisions to make the optimal formation for any given situation. Many of the other changes account for the champions and synergies in the new set. So we talked about this before. This is one of the biggest changes. So board size, 3 rows of 7 hexes is going to 4 rows of 7 hexes. Player damage, this is what your little legend will give, is 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's moving to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be a little bit more even and tempoed out. And it's not going to feel as random. I think it's like, oh, okay, I'm dead now. Summoned units don't deal player damage by themselves, but they count as their summoner was alive if at least one of them survives round.
That's good. So that infinite Zeds just instantly kill you. Good.
Yeah. So like, if you need an example for set one, say like your Elise died, but one of the Spiderlings was 2 Spiderlings were alive. You would only get the credit for the Elise, not the 2 Spiderlings. And so level 8 champion drop chances per tier level is 15, 20, 35, 22, 8, going to 15, 20, 35, 24, 6. And the big thing here is just like when the numbers aren't rounded, because we as people like rounded numbers, means that they're really looking into fine-tuning these types of things, and they're not quite satisfied with how they're going right now. Once you pick up a champion from the carousel, your little legend will no longer collide with your opponents. That's a little bit of a feels bad. Because the carousel game is going to change, folks. You can't block people.
Yeah.
I've definitely like accidentally walked into somebody and gotten the wrong unit before.
I've done that many times.
And so I think that's good, but for me, I personally believe that's on me. But I'm glad I'm glad Riot is changing some things. But like the big thing here that's not mentioned is the fact that if you go, there's like an awesome graphic that I sent Blev. We can maybe even post it as a resource in our Discord.
I think I may already have.
Talking about positioning is that like almost every winning map on this is a different style of positioning.
Yes.
And I think one of the bigger reasons is because of those elemental hexes. It kind of forces your hand into a certain way of the board state looking. And that's really exciting because positioning was a little bit of a it kind of felt like more like a preference at times, right? More than like an actual part of the strategy of the game. And now, because of those elemental hexes, because of the extra hexes, positioning is just something else you have to think about in your time of getting ready for your round.
Yeah, it feels like it's both. It's still very important, but it almost seems like it's less. Like it seemed like you would just get completely destroyed because because it was smaller, there was like fewer optimal positionings that you could do. There was like no wiggle room. It was like, well, I didn't position against assassins. Guess I get destroyed. And then when there was
felt like a clown car, right?
Right.
And when a clown car gets into an accident, you're probably not going to survive.
Right. Actually, hundreds of fatalities.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah, it's like you didn't position around assassins, but also you need to position around Hextech, and also you need to position your lockets and your Zeeks. It's like because there's so many things, eventually it just got to like, okay, it's like either this, or this, and that's it. Now with the elemental hexes, it's like, okay, do I want to take advantage of the elemental hex and build around that? Do I want to counter where my opponent's elemental hex is and position around that? Do I want to just ignore the elemental hex and do something else? Do I want to put a Zephyr on an elemental hex? That was a heads up thing that the professor told me about. It's like, hey, just put a Zephyr on one of the elemental hexes and you're going to get whatever they put on there. So like you're automatically going to be getting that. It's like, wow, that's actually really good sort of basic level like level 1 play. That's really good to do. So there's just so much that you can do, and like you said, Boop, in that infographic, there's just so many different varieties because we don't know where those elemental hexes are. They could be anywhere really on the map, and how you choose to use those is just an interesting wrinkle in this new meta. But new things here we've got for rank changes. They say new season, new rules. Like we mentioned before, ranked is off during 9.22 and will return to 9.23. Wasn't that what the PBE was for? To like make sure that everything wasn't broken for ranked? Like, it's just gonna. It seems like really bad timing. Like, even if you could turn it on in a B patch, like I get it. Like 1 week off, sure. You know, you want to make sure there's nothing game broken. You don't want to have to like have that awkward conversation of, oh, I was playing ranked and my client crashed and I lost a bunch of LP and I'm going for channel, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, I get that. Give it a little bit of grace time, but a whole 2 weeks when you've already had 2 weeks of like the expanded PBE plus whatever other PBE you had, like, it just seemed like, as a person who's not, whose job it is not to work on the game on the side, it seems like a lot of time to me where I just want to be playing ranked. I don't want to be playing, and I've had people talk to me about it, like just kind of voice their opinions of like, man, it does not feel as good to play normal. Like, we saw the numbers. They don't even put normal into PBE because so many people, they want to make sure the population's there to queue ranked. They need to test that. So it's like, I don't like playing normal. I don't really want to play normal, and I don't feel like the games I'm getting are the same caliber. So it's almost like, for me, I'm going to be going, I may be doing really great in normals, and then when I go to ranked, it's like, well, I get destroyed because the things that I was doing didn't actually translate over to ranked because...
You know, I'm hearing a little bit of a pattern, Blev, because this is actually kind of the same thing that you complained about the Red Bull Invitational.
I just
right?
want it to be more try hard.
yeah. Are people doing their best? Am I getting the highest level of competition? You know,
Right.
and I think what they're doing is giving people who might not have been able to be lucky enough to explore the PBE and have been focusing on like climbing on set 1, a little bit more time to get in there. And
Yeah.
this way, like if anything's broken when they release, they don't have to affect ranked. Like a preseason would have been cool. Right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is just like a preseason. It's fun. We'll let you play ranked style or something like that. You might win or gain LP, but we're going to reset it after the next 2 weeks
Right.
anyway. Right? Like, how would that have felt if they said that?
I think it would be a step better than just giving us ranked. I mean,
Yeah.
the argument is, like, if they haven't had time to play it, like, they still could play normal while ranked is out. Like, that could still happen. I don't know. It just feels... I don't know. It doesn't feel good to me as a player.
It's not fun enough if we're coming full circle from the beginning of the podcast, right?
Yeah. It's just
Well,
all right.
2 weeks is a long time. 2 weeks is kind of a long time to just take competitive out, right? But it's not unprecedented. I feel like Overwatch has had a couple seasons like with a week or two in between.
Yeah, and they over time have shortened those down because people
Yeah,
complain, and I'm
regular
sure
League of
that they
Legends.
look at the player numbers plummet when that happens because, like, for better or for worse, that is the psyche of the 2019 gamer. It's like, I want to play competitive, and if I'm not going to play competitive here, I'm just going to play something else because, like, my time is not being well spent. Even though,
Yeah, I mean,
it honestly could be. That's just the mindset of it. And, like, I
I don't
like
like
to
playing
take some time off.
normal games in
Yeah.
like any game I play,
No.
if that makes sense. I'd
I
rather
don't
play.
either.
But are we being a little spoiled? Is kind of like the
Yes.
question I have.
Yes, we are.
100%.
There's
Daddy,
no-
give me my ranks.
Rank, please. Rank, please. There's an episode title.
Like
if I've ever heard one.
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory,
Uh,
right? You know,
yeah,
kids.
Veruca Salt.
Yeah.
Wow, that name works very well for gamers in 2019.
Yeah. I want an egg.
See-
But like, I don't know. I actually, it's so funny. I feel like our roles are reversed. I'm usually the hard one on a lot of these conversations.
Oh
but
my.
Yeah, nice. But this time around, like I honestly don't really have a big problem with it. I think 2 weeks is a little bit of a long time, but like
Yeah.
they gotta. Would you rather ranked be released and be broken, or wait 2 weeks and have it be great?
I'd rather it be released and I'd rather it be done. Just do it. Just give me 1 week. I'll give you 1 week, but two? No, no, no. I'm giving some pushback on 2 weeks. It's too long. 1 week. That's all you're getting from me without complaining.
But Lev, it messes with their patch schedule. Aren't they're not
They
doing
they
me patches
but they
anymore?
have the ability to. They
Uh huh.
still do updates. They still usually will do like little mini updates.
That's true.
Not
That's
not
true.
content updates, but like adjustments or this, that, or the other. And I don't know if it's simply like, hey, we because I don't know obviously a lot about it, but I know that they've said like there's certain things they can't do in a B patch that they can only do in a regular patch. And if that's the case, then I'm more fine with it because I guess I would rather have there be some time than none. But also, like, I still keep going back to, like, isn't that what the PBE was for? But then you made a good point about people probably still playing set one, blah, blah. Whatever. It's fine. I just, if they have the ability to only do less time, they should. That's my
Hey,
opinion of it.
Lev, this is my suggestion for you. Just play ranked on PBE until the 2 weeks is over.
That's no. Unfortunately, I think the answer the thing that's going to happen that they may not be happy with is that people are going to be playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds ranked, and they're going to be playing Dota Underlords ranked, and they're going to be playing MTG Arena ranked. That's the harsh reality is that if it's only normal, they're probably going to see maybe not significant, maybe there isn't a drop in players at all. I don't know, but that's what I think. That's my thought on it.
I mean, so remember when they broke the game for like a second and ranked was down for like a day,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like forever,
Yep.
right? Like the
Now
2 weeks of
imagine 14 times that, and that's what we have to wait.
that, right? Well, I'm just gonna be playing Death Stranding or something. I'm willing to wait, even though like Hearthstone came out. Like I honestly don't feel like a lot of people are gonna move over. It's too different.
I don't think they're
I
going to move
think.
over to it. I think they're going to play it because it's new and it's fun enough. Like I said,
Well,
it's
yeah,
fun
yeah, yeah,
enough.
and then everyone's just gonna be like, okay, TFT back, see ya. And
Yeah, and
and a
I
lot of other
hope
good
that's
games
the
have come
case.
out recently. Like apparently there's this one new game called Disco Elysium that's come out that's got a 91 on Metacritic, not sponsored, but I'm going to take this opportunity to expand my horizons for the 2 weeks. I'm going to
Sure.
try to grow as a person while also playing set 2 because I've been playing a lot of set 1 still.
Yeah.
And I just haven't gotten a chance to really play a lot of set 2. I guess I'm not as cool as you guys, and
I
not part of like the
I
PBE
mean,
club.
I
And
wish I could have played set one more, but after I played set two and tried to play set one again, I was like, nope, I'm just not doing this. So
I think Set 2 is a better game.
yeah.
So it's a better game, so you might have more fun playing normal. I don't know,
I
Blev.
mean, I'm going to play normal. That's the reality of it. Is me personally as a player, I'm going to suck it up and play normal, and probably won't even care that much after the first day. But I would rather ranked be in. That's the end of that for me. Okay, next that was one bullet point. This one is one that they talked about before. Placing fourth or better will never deduct LP. Placing fifth or lower will never reward LP. Quality of life increase in my book.
Yep.
And they're slightly decreasing the number of challenger and grandmaster slots in many regions in order to make sure that the master and challenger ranks have the appropriate distribution of players. The actual number changes are not that interesting, but there's fewer in every region. And I'm assuming that they're proportional to what they were before. They're just all lowered. Um,
Yeah.
and we also talked about the champion pool changes as well a couple episodes ago. Basically, everything's going down all
Which
the
is
way.
good.
Yeah, except for tier five, which is staying the same. So your tier
Yeah.
five units are still just
Tier
as
4 is only
likely.
going by one.
Yeah.
The big one is it's going to be way harder to get 3-star tier 1 units.
Yes.
And so basically what they're trying to do here is lock you into certain team comps, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go a certain way, then you're kind of more locked in. It's going to try to diversify some things. Unfortunately, if you get a bunch of predators right now, you're just going to have to go for it.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's not. it's not harder to get. It's not inherently harder to get a 3-star tier 1 unit. It's harder for multiple people to go for it.
Yes,
If no one
yes.
else is going for it, it's actually easier than it was before because there's fewer total units, I
Thanks for
believe.
the that's what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like the diversity aspect is the most important part of these
Yes.
changes.
Yes. Absolutely. Um I think yes, we definitely did also talk about the mana generation. Those are all still the
We
same from
talked about all the
before.
items.
All the items, I believe, are the same. I don't think any of these numbers have changed. But if they have, and we didn't go over it, it didn't jump out off of the page to us that it changed. So you can take a look at the notes as well. Um, the item system stuff is all the same as it was in the PBE when it was
Yeah, and
announced.
just to remind everybody, I think this is the third time they've nerfed spatula drop rates.
Yeah.
Just like in a general. So they really trying to make items more rare. And I think and I think that's a good idea because like on set one, particularly, they don't feel they just feel like another item.
Hmm.
Right, like turning someone into a Yordle or turning someone into a Blade Master, right? It's just like
Right.
another item. It doesn't feel like a special thing because you're getting double the stats, right?
Hmm.
Which I'm not sure everyone knows. But the
But you're not getting double the stats anymore.
Yes, and so spatula drop rates reduced. I think that's going to be really fun. It's going to make the fact that it's going to make the decision to change your class or in addition to like
Hmm.
making someone a mage, for example, that much more impactful because other people aren't going to have the same type of choices as much anymore.
I also think it makes you probably want to go like so right now the hyper roll build would be like lights. And if you get the spatula, it's like, okay, well, I can hyper roll lights now. But if you don't get the spatula, unlike with Void Assassins meta, it was like if you got the sword was just as hard to get as the spatula in a lot of ways because the sword was so used and so sought after. You could you could like int and still probably get a spatula before the end of the game in a lot of times in that meta. Now with it being reduced again and with people just going for it more in general, if you don't already have the spatula, very hard to pick one up unless you get a little bit lucky here. The only other thing on here that I don't believe we talked about were the new arena skins that you can buy. I don't think we talked about those.
Predicted those, by the way.
True.
Well, oh, you know what's really cool though, Blev? Like we've predicted a ton of things that ended up getting in a set too, including like
True.
specific
I
characters
don't
and
want
what
to.
they were
I don't.
going
I
to
mean,
do,
I don't want to
like the
say that
arena.
the team's taking our ideas, but no, they're definitely not. Or maybe they are. Who knows? We'll take a story by in the credits. That's all we need. Story by Little Legends podcast.
You know, if you want help, you know, on the balance team, I'll be there as like your heel. You know,
As
but
the
but yeah. Hey, is this a good idea? No, and this is why. Do I believe that? I think it's a great idea, but I'm telling you why it's not. You know, it's all good. It's all
I
good.
can be the bouncing
Um,
board for ideas. I can also give some really bad ideas.
Yeah, I'll make like a whole like soundboard where I just press a button based off of how I feel. You know, no, right? It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. I'm so excited though. Set two is gonna be great.
I can't wait for set two. I already have loved it in PBE. I can't wait for it to come to ranked. Can't wait for all that stuff. Can't wait to get to cast it on Friday, Boop.
Hey
So
yo,
we better
gonna
get
be good. I
yeah.
think it's just me and you doing as the pair, right? I'm excited.
I
I
don't
want
know.
you to get a little bit of that hosting in. I think I'm gonna do a
I
little bit
hosted
more color, dude.
I hosted on the last fight night. But yes, I want
Yeah.
to get it
I
all in. I want to get it
I
all.
noticed that. I noticed that kind of fit you a little bit more. So let's try the other side and see how it goes.
Yeah, I can do it all. But speaking
We can
of
build it.
it all being done, you guys should all be playing Set 2, Rise of the Elements. Oh, there's even a trailer video. I forgot to mention that. There's a trailer video. I put that in the notes as well. You can also just follow the TFT Twitter. But that's it, guys. Nice, short, sweet, simple little show here. We got set 2. You want to be playing? You don't need to be listening to us. Go play. But Boop, any last minute stuff before we get going here? We'll be bringing back the build comps, the poster comps, all that stuff's going to be coming back next week. Once we get in the swing of things to set 2, and we haven't just come back from a week-long convention where we're both basically dead.
I know, man. I've eaten a couple hulls on the way through this podcast. Oh, look at this. We're not sponsored, but they have like that biodegradable bags now, and that's really cool. So good on them. Preach. And then the other thing is Blev and a couple other casters and I are going to be starting like kind of like a casting boot camp.
Yeah.
Probably next
Casting
week.
class.
I think that would be really cool to add on to potentially the Patreon or just make it free. I don't know, Blev.
Yeah.
Blev and I will talk about it. But if you're interested in casting this thing, I'll be leading a class on it like every week or every other
don't
week
say a day because I don't know what day it could be.
Yeah.
We'll
it
figure
can't
it
be
out.
Tuesday because we're doing that now.
Or could be we could just do double. We'll all the details.
The details
of it.
are getting, but it's an
Yes.
idea that we have, and we're really excited for it.
Yes.
And then we will invite as many people as you want. So if you're listening and it's something that you're interested in, you don't have to participate the first time around. If you just kind of want to watch and take notes and see the process,
Also,
no
we
pressure.
Could also stream too.
We should 100% stream it,
Yeah.
and then
At the very least, we'll be streaming it
and build a little bit of a casting community too, because we need to do that as well. There aren't just players involved; just there's producers, there's casters, there's a whole group of people. So if you want to do that, join our Discord, and we'll have that information ready to go by the time we do our first one. It won't be this week, but maybe next week. And you can find me at Booposaurus Rex on Twitter.
Yes, and you can find me at _Blevins on Twitter. You can find the show at LIL Legends Pod on Twitter. The place you're going to definitely want to go to find everything is definitely discord.me/Legends Podcast. Again, you can be like the awesome patrons we already have, especially our $10 patrons, Angry Frog and Undead the Gamer at patreon.com/ I almost said High Noon Podcast, Little Legends Podcast. And also, guys, make sure that you are checking us out on Prediction and checking out all the other great esports shows and content that they have. But that is going to be it for this week. Let us know what you think about Set 2 in the Discord. If you see us on, say hi, and let's play some games, guys. That's going to be it for Boop. I'm the Blevins, and we'll catch you guys next week on the Little Legends Podcast. Bye.